Can the Batman live up to the hype? The Batman is next.
Fear is a tool. But when that light hits the sky, it's not just a call. It's a warning. I'm vengeance.
Welcome everybody to Fantasy Picks Movie Edition. My name is Robert Moda, and with me I have Joe the Man Hall.
What's up, guys?
And with us also joining us is Ralph Virginia Levy.
What's going on?
I'm not going to let you live that one up. So, yeah, today we have actually a special edition. I mean, this podcast normally is about, us going over and reviewing overhyped movies that didn't make it in the box office or didn't make it, critically. But today we have a great show because this movie actually is doing very well. But before we do that, it actually has something to tie in with this show, and this is the reason why. I wanted to hear your guys' opinion about what's going on, what's going on with the Oscars. As you guys know, they have excluded from the telecast, I guess, that they're going to do a whole bunch of nominations that normally they would be in there. Original score, editing, sound, makeup, hairstyling, production design, documentary short, animated short, and live action short. They are including something new this year, which I think they should have had this shit done fucking years ago, man. And they're doing it now, which is they're including a fan favorite. So I have a feeling that it's like, hey, the shit that, actually made money in the theaters as opposed to, some movie that just was shown in like 3 screens and all of a sudden got Best Picture or something like that. So what do you guys think about that? Like, excluding some of these things out. Ralph?
I mean, I tell you, like, I don't think I've paid attention to actually the telecast in 15 years. I usually just read the results. So, because
right.
like a lot of the times, like the awards that I look for were secondhand, like cinematography and stuff like that.
Right.
So I've always just read the results versus having the. They haven't been entertaining either the past, like, I don't know, 5 or 10 years. So, I mean, just a lot of fanfare to the people that show up and not the people that actually care about it.
Right. No, I agree with you. I mean, I think like, the last, I would say like the last 4 or 5 years, you don't see, when I thought it was good when you had like Robin Williams and, Whoopi Goldberg and,
right.
and, who's, Billy Crystal. Yeah, Billy Crystal. When you had those type of casts, those shows were awesome. The musical numbers were great. All that stuff is great. But now it's just, it really blows. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, from the categories, you and I talked about it briefly, but, I think the original score, editing, sound, those probably they definitely have a place in the Oscars. People should get recognition for that, but in terms of the documentary short, animated short, live action short, I mean, let's be honest, no one cares. So you can do that before the ceremony and be like, hey,
right,
they won. I say that, and then obviously, it was pretty cool. Rest his soul. Kobe won one for an animated short and stuff like that. So that was kind of different because first guy playing sports won, so that was interesting. That's probably the only time I've ever paid attention. But, I do think including the fan favorite was, like you pointed out, something that just needed to be done. I guess I'd need to read a little bit more in terms of how they're going to decide that or what's going to be the voting for it.
It'll still be the same thing, so Academy members are still going to actually vote for those. The only thing is that those will take place in a different ceremony. So here's my opinion on this, because a lot of these categories in the past, and I don't know if it's important for some people, but I'll give you an example, like original score. you've
Yeah.
had some amazing scores, especially, we'll go back to our fan favorite, which is, John Williams. Would have we ever known about these scores, Star Wars, Superman, Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., all these things that made his movies so iconic. And then and they get nominated all the time. And not only that, but when the show is on, they'll put some of those themes in the background, things like that. So I feel like you take that out, you take the perfect example of these movies that have been nominated. So like Return of the King. Return of the King got 10 Oscars. It's actually tied as one of the highest movies that have ever been that have won 10 movies. I think there's 3 movies that are tied all up there. Return of the King is one of them, and it won original score, editing, sound, makeup and hairstyling, production. It won all the stuff that they're just trying to get rid of. So whenever they say, movie won 10 Academy Awards, and stuff like that, I'm sure a lot of people will be like, 10? I only saw it win 3 now. That kind of stuff. I just think that how are they going to handle that, I guess? But the fact that they're taking some of these things away, and the Oscars has always been about celebrating the art of movie making, and these are things that you have people in the background doing so much work, and it's pretty much their lives, and the only time they get recognition is in the Oscars. And now it's like, listen, you guys gonna just gonna have to suck it up. It's like it's like saying, hey, I'm gonna give you a little gold star, now go home. That kind of stuff.
Right.
So I don't know. I just think the live action, the fan favorite, which I'm gonna predict this shit right now. I think this year, the fan favorite is gonna be probably Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
No Way Home.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the going back to what you were saying. I forgot the film we were watching, or if it was might have been watching a documentary or something about John Williams, but
Right.
they showed the just the bike and E.T. going through the sky, just
Right.
that shot
Mm-hmm.
with no music, and then they showed it again with the music, and it's
It's fucking
completely different.
iconic, man. I mean,
Yeah. It was completely different. So, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to make a more engaging show and maybe leave time to have more of those music bits or jokes or whatever it may be. But yeah, I know I know where you're coming from, and I but if they're going to keep televising the Oscars,
right.
they have to do something to pull people in.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yes.
I mean, because it's if you notice the last few shows, sometimes they'll have like this, like this person in the crowd talking to the actors, and hey, join us on Twitter, and they seem to be making it more about that than than the other part. Like I think they want to like leave time for that kind of stuff. Talk to the actors. They want to again more of the social media type of thing. Compared to like, hey, let me just watch a show about celebrating, the art of film. But I mean, we'll see how that goes. I guess this year. I mean, I'm going to be watching it just for that, just to see how that comes off.
I know they won't do it, and I know he'll never do one again. But give me Ricky Gervais every year.
Oh my God, yes,
all of the shows, and I'll watch it every single time.
Hell yes. I mean, he's ruthless, man.
Oh, sign me up. I'm there every time. He's so funny. So
you know who I would love to see?
No balls Oscars. You won't do it.
Jimmy Carr.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Can you imagine that man doing the Oscars?
He's a savage too. So
yeah.
That'd be good.
All right.
I'm not savage. Let me do it.
Are you gonna do it with the Virginia voice?
Yeah.
All right, man. So we're gonna get into now what we've been, with this podcast. So normally, like I said, we tend to just review movies that didn't make it in the box office, or that critically it was just not a good thing. And in some cases, critically and the box office did okay, but for fans, it just kind of sucked. But today is going to just be a special edition of this show, which we're going to be reviewing the latest movie of The Batman. So, The Batman, the story goes, when the Riddler, a sadistic serial killer, begins murdering key political figures in Gotham, Batman is forced to investigate the city's corruption and questions his family involvement. This movie starts Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Jeffrey Wright, Colin Farrell, Paul Dano, John Turturro, Andy Serkis, and a ton of other great actors in there that I'm not going to go over. Directed by Matt Reeves, also produced by Matt Reeves, and of course, Warner Brothers Pictures. Right now, this movie has an 86% in Rotten Tomatoes, 89 audience score, which I'm not surprised. And the budget was anywhere from, I think it was like 185 million to 200 million. As of today, this movie has hit, I think, about $460 million. So, what did you guys think of the score of the story?
Oh,
You
boy.
wanna go first, Rob?
Yeah.
I'll let you go. Go ahead.
I would love to. I thought the story was really good. Really well written, thought out. It's a 3-hour movie, so to be able to sit there for that long and not feel like it's a 3-hour movie was pretty great. I mean, I thought, honestly, once they had Riddler in jail, that was the end, but there was still like another 40 minutes of movie left.
Yep, I thought the same thing, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, movie's over, and there was like, wait a second, let's go. It was awesome. Keep going.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. The ebb and flow of everything was really well thought out. It felt a lot more like the video game storylines, which was really cool because they did pull some parts from the video game lore and canon to kind of interweave everything together between the comic books, the actual, all the movies ever made, and like there's like little hints and pieces. I really enjoyed how they had cast Batman and Bruce Wayne as a different type of person, and it was a reach, but like they did a good job with it.
Yeah, so same thing. I mean, 3-hour movie. I was riveted the entire time. I had no concept of how long I had been in theater. The only thing I could tell is the longer I sat there, the more I had to pee. But other than that, I did not want to get up and stop watching the movie. It was, I went in with high expectations, and it met them. I thought everyone in the movie did a phenomenal job.
Right.
And like Ralph said, they did a good job at weaving a lot of the Batman that both fans got to experience and have experienced in different mediums. So
Right.
it was an interesting take, but I thought everything came together so well. And it was really, really good.
Yeah, I have to say that,
Is
and I
good.
told both of you, I think I remember telling both of you that I'm going into it with really low expectations. Because when they announced that it was going to be Robert Pattinson, I just didn't, like, I don't know, there was something about him that I mean, he's a great actor from what I've seen. All I know from him was the vampire movies that he did, you know, and
Twilight.
the Twilight, that Twilight series, which is, you know, well, we all know what that's about, and we don't even want to cover that in this show. But that being said, yeah, that's all I knew him for. I saw him on Tenet, and I thought he did a really good job on that. But he blew me away on this. I was actually very surprised. The 3-hour thing is funny because a lot of people online, that's their biggest complaint about this movie. Is they didn't need to be that long. I never felt that way. I sat in the movies and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. It's already done? Because it was long, but I mean, you didn't feel like it was going to, you know, like it was dragging or anything like that. And I thought pretty cool about it. I was like, all right, you know what? I like this movie a lot. And I saw it twice. Because the first time I was like, did I really like it? And then I had to see it a second time. I was like, nope, yeah, I did like it. I definitely did like it. So what do you guys think of the Batman, you know, the Batman being on his second year? I think this is the first time And remember, like these movies are actually based off of the Frank Miller Year One, Long Halloween, and I forgot what the other issue is that they also based it on, but it's heavily based on these movies. I think it also has little, like you said, Ralph, little tones of the Arkham video games, which at times I felt like I was watching a video game when it came to that. And it also has a lot of people have said like the tone of the movie Seven, which is kind of cool. But the fact that they did a movie that is the second year of Bruce Wayne being the Batman and how he's dealing with that. Joe, what did you think about that? Like, hey, this is his second year. How do you think that compared to other movies that they did with Batman? How did you think about that? What did you think about that?
I actually really enjoyed it. So, yeah, obviously, I own and have read Year One, Long Halloween, Hush. So, and I actually watched the animated versions of those before I went to go see the movie too. And I like that we got to see someone working on and sort of struggling at his craft, and still, it's been in a lot of movies where he's coming to terms with losing his parents and he's still very angry, but in this particular version, I mean, that was clear. He kicked the shit out of people. And it wasn't fast or calculated or smooth like an experienced Batman. It was a guy still figuring it out. I think my favorite part of the movie that was different from all the other Batman movies that we've seen is that you really got to see the detective aspect of the Batman and the storylines that are, I mean, you always see them in the comic books, especially with the Long Halloween and stuff like that, but it did so well on the screen, and there were so many subtle things that you come to learn were done on purpose. For example, you see Batman looking at people in the room or objects in the room for an extended period of time, but they also show that he's kind of got a better sense, or he's more keen or aware than other people in the room. Like he sees the blood on the floor from the carpet tool in the first section, but they do a good job of showing why some of those mannerisms are weird or strange, and it all comes into play in the technology he's using and the tools, and I thought it was great. As far as the Bruce Wayne portion, interesting. It was a different take, right. But I thought it all played out really, really well on screen.
Yeah, I thought the Batman. It's like you were saying. I think him being his second year. One of the criticisms has been is like, oh, some people thought it was going to show more, him with more gadgets, or him being the Batman that I guess, and people don't realize like this is his second year of him trying to figure this shit out. He's been in the trenches for 2 years, but he's still not seasoned as if he were like Batman for 10 years or 20 years. So one of the things that I liked about it was that everything he did was very rough around the edges. His fighting style was not the best, right? So when I compare that to like probably the best fighting scene that I have ever seen for Batman, which was in Justice League, not Justice League, Batman versus Superman, when Batman went in to rescue Superman's mother, and he beat the shit out of everybody in that room viciously and quick. That's the Batman that he'll eventually get to. But this is not that Batman. The same thing with from the Batmobile to everything else, it is his second year. He'll eventually get to that point, but he's not there yet. And I kind of really like that part of it. What did you think, Ralph?
I think there's a lot to really like about Bruce Wayne and his transgressions growing into the role. They had like the perfect example of everything they were trying to get at was the split between Bruce Wayne and Batman. So you had the scene with the one cop that met Batman, didn't like him, didn't want him to invest the crime scene. Then he saw Bruce Wayne and he was all happy, and it was like he saw a superstar. And then you had the same thing with the twins at the Iceberg Lounge, where Batman shows up at the door and like they give him guff, but then Bruce Wayne shows up at the door and they let him in.
Yeah.
So
that scene was so funny, man.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, like he showed up at the door and like he had that look on his face, like they're gonna just let me walk by. This is great, but at the same time, it's depressing because they have no clue that he's Batman, and they give him such a hard time and got their ass kicked for it. And then the third time, he goes back as Batman, but he takes him out silently and gets in.
Well, he goes back as Bruce Wayne, and then he becomes Batman inside.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. It was like, first it was Batman, then Bruce Wayne, then Batman and Bruce Wayne inside. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I like not seeing that much Bruce Wayne throughout it. Just because, like, I mean, the Nolan movies, you got a lot of Bruce Wayne.
Right. And let's touch upon that because, again, that was the other thing. There's not that much Bruce Wayne in this movie. And one of the things that I notice is that, and the way the story makes it sound is like Bruce Wayne really does not want to be Bruce Wayne.
Right.
He doesn't care about his family's legacy, and he doesn't care about anything. I mean, he tells Alfred that pretty much. It's like he doesn't care. All he cares about is being the Batman. And they just show more Batman than they do, than they do Bruce Wayne. I personally, that was the one gripe I had about this movie was I did not like the way they represented Bruce Wayne. I mean, he just looked like this emo character. He looked weird. And the hairstyle sucked, I think. But for this particular movie, it worked. And I think, again, you have to think about it. Okay, he's still angry. This is a man that is still angry, that he's still grieving. He is still trying to figure out what he wants to do when it comes to this whole second, this other persona that he's, becoming or has become. And so he has to, like towards the end of the movie where he eventually knows, hey, you know what? I can't be vengeance all the time. I have to be some hope. I like that part of it, that again, he's rough around the edges. He doesn't know what he wants. He is a man that's just still trying to figure it all out. And so by not showing that much Batman in there, I understood that. I don't know why a lot of people were like, oh, we don't see that much of Bruce Wayne. We don't have to, because he's not there. He doesn't want to be Bruce Wayne.
And I think part of the Bruce Wayne persona that he ends up taking on, or the one that's been more prevalent in movies and comics and the games, or, well, not so much the games, but movies and comics and stuff, is that he creates this playboyish character to draw attention away from, or just to be completely different from, the Batman, who's clearly no nonsense. I'm here to do a job. And he's got this code and all these things that he follows, but he's neither of those people in this movie.
Right.
And you see, he doesn't even really he doesn't even really get to like the playboyish character that we see in this movie at all, but it's very clear that the hints of him being able to maybe do something with the fact that people are just like, oh my god, it's Bruce Wayne. They plant all those seeds kind of throughout the movie.
Right.
But I honestly, when at him as Batman and the whole detective story was really all I wanted to see. I thought it was so well done, and I just wanted to see more of it.
What do you think, Ralph?
Especially more than the Bruce part.
I enjoyed that. I just, as you're saying that, I'm trying to think of the detective stuff in the movie, and I just came back to Thumb Drive, and that part killed me.
Yeah.
It was funny, but
yeah.
They
had, and it's fun. They had some funny hints to this. I heard on Kevin Smith's podcast, Fat Man on Batman, Mark Bernardin was saying that it's interesting how Batman, in this entire movie, he never really catched the bad guy. because he didn't. And then you start thinking about it, and it's like, holy shit, you're right. Because he didn't really catch the bad guy. The police caught, the Riddler in inside of the diner. Marone, what was it, Maroni? Or no, Falcone. He really didn't catch him. It was Catwoman who really kind of caught him, and then he just kind of escorted him out there, and then spoilers, then he got offed. So it was that part to me was like, okay, yeah, I guess Batman is still trying to trying to figure this all out. But that was an interesting thing that they said on that. You, sir, Ralph, you saw the movie twice. Now, this is something that I want to get your opinion on, because I often think that when you go to the movies, the movie going experience is part of it. And if a movie is not presented in the right way, it can make or break your opinion of that movie. You went to see it in IMAX, and then you went to see it in the Dolby Theater. What was your experience, and did it change your opinion of the movie, or you still had the same opinion, or explain that one to me?
Well, we're going to get this straight out of the gate. The facts are, I was forced to see it in IMAX because they did a fan event that was open 3 days before the actual opening, and they only did an IMAX. It was really, it didn't make it any better or worse for me the second time. It was a better experience the second time seeing it in Dolby Vision. And then I also knew when I can go to the bathroom in that 3 hours, which was kind of cool. Because, I literally, I almost probably died from my bladder bursting the first time because I didn't want to get up out of my chair. And, I waited for the scene with Penguin getting chased by Batman in the car, which is probably one of the coolest action scenes in the movie. But, I've seen it in the previews. And I was like, all right, I went right after the explosion and he caught him. So, you lose a lot in IMAX. I don't know if it's because the IMAX projector in the certain theater I saw it in, but the image quality, and in the beginning you could totally, when behind the mayor you saw the Riddler appear, you couldn't see anything but his eyes in IMAX, but in Dolby you can see the person behind him. It was a little more scary to see that versus just the eyes. And some people could argue it would probably be scary just to see the person's face, but you got so much more tonal detail in the better theater, so I enjoyed it more.
Yeah, I saw it. I only saw it in the Dolby Vision theater, so I did notice that for all the complaints that I heard about the movie being very dark and not being able to see a lot and all that, I actually heard. On the Rewatchables podcast, they were talking about how dark the movie is and that it was hard to see things. And I'd be curious to know if they actually saw it in Dolby Vision theater or in standard or IMAX or whatever it may be. But I mean, I only go to the movies to watch it in Dolby Vision, and it looked incredible. So I didn't really get what people were complaining about when they said it was super dark and all that stuff. Because you could see everything, but Rob and I were talking about it, and all those theaters from AMC are calibrated, and both for the sound and for the picture.
Right.
And,
I was watching this. I was watching this interview with Matt Reeves and it was actually through the Dolby channel on YouTube, and he was saying how Dolby approached them about the movie, and he was concerned because the colorist that was actually being interviewed was saying, "Listen, no movie theater in the United States is the same at all. All of them are going to be calibrated different. Some are not calibrated at all. Things like that." Dolby told them, hey, every theater that has a Dolby theater in it, they all look exactly the same. And when I watched it, I thought it looked phenomenal. I mean, it was a dark movie, but you could still see all the detail behind it. So I enjoyed it because I was like, okay, I could still see it. It's the same. It's the same way how people complained about, I think, what was it, Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Like that one episode that people were like, "Oh, it was so dark and everything," and the filmmakers were like, "You know what? Then get yourself a better TV."
Well, hey, I that was the only episode I think of Game of Thrones I ever watched, was that last one, and it was bad. It was really like I had to turn up the levels on, and I have an OLED, and like it was dark. It was very muddy. And
mine, I saw it, and I saw it like, you know, all the details were there. I mean, like I saw it I try to see it on a regular TV, and I saw what people were talking about, and I was like, yeah, it doesn't look like that on my TV. On my TV, it looks fucking great. But again, you know, it's a whole movie going experience, which I always tell people, is like, man, go to a really good theater with really good sound and stuff like that. And that actually is my next question, and I'm gonna actually give that one to Joe, because what did you think of the whole sound when it came to like this movie? I mean, I thought it was phenomenal on how they did it. There's a lot of process, like, you know, I've been reading a lot on how Matt Reeves went through the filmmaking process, the whole sound process, and all these things. I mean, he did some really crazy stuff for this movie that people will probably never know about. But us being, you know, big film fans, you know, we look into stuff like that. But what did you think of? I mean, the sound to me was phenomenal in the theaters. I mean, it was just fucking breathtaking, especially the way the Batmobile got introduced.
Oh yeah, that was that was something special. The Batmobile introduction, the whining of the jet engine, the rumble of the car, how you could actually feel that in the subs in the theater room, and then somewhat through the chairs throughout the theater room, how they had a lot of good front to back, side to side, up and down effects, with it being a Dolby Atmos theater room.
Right.
And the soundtrack is incredible. It moved the movie. Everything flowed really well. But you know, this is a movie that was made for the theaters. It's designed to be enjoyed in a theater room. Now, you know, we've mentioned it before. We're in the business of audio and designing theater rooms. It's going to sound very good on a home theater.
Right.
Especially you got a nice one at home, it'll sound amazing. But, you know, most theaters and homes don't have 40 speakers and butt kicker subs and stuff like that. So, or how large are the Dolby Vision screens? Are like 300.
Oh, it's like 300 inches. Yeah, they're huge. I mean,
they're huge.
It's a great movie experience, man.
But the sound was great. One gripe might be me, and my hearing. I think I have some sort of mid-range thing going on. Dana was a little hard to understand sometimes, but
that's interesting.
As the Riddler, it could have been me. I might have had just trouble hearing what he was saying. Granted, his face is literally wrapped in saran wrap, and then there's a mask over it.
Right.
But I had trouble making out what he was saying sometimes.
Right.
Not so much Batman, once or twice, but that could just be a me thing. I don't know.
Yeah, when I was in there, I mean, everything sounded great. And again, like we said, you know, like I was saying, the introduction of the Batmobile was just the best thing I have ever seen. My gripe is still the Batmobile. I don't like that Batmobile. I understand it in this world. I understand, and again, we're talking about him being year 2 into being the Batman. He's not gonna have, you know, the Tumbler or, you know, like the Batmobile from, you know, Batman 89 or something like that. This is a guy that just said, you know what, I'm just gonna scrap something together so I could kick somebody's ass. But that introduction was just fucking perfect.
I mean, that's a badass engine for just throwing something together, but
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I was literally smiling ear to ear. I had a big dumb smile on my face.
Yeah.
For that whole scene. It was done in a way to make you knew something awesome was coming.
Oh yeah.
Or at least a good scene was coming. And there are so many times in this movie where I was just so happy that it was executed well. That the anticipation to the moment actually worked.
Yeah.
And the Batmobile scene, I mean, was just amazing. But I mean, Colin Farrell, the whole thing from beginning to end,
Right.
was really good.
What was your take, Ralph, on the sound? Because you saw it in IMAX, and then you saw it in Dolby. Big difference?
It's loud.
You mean IMAX
well, so,
or
when I went and saw it in
Atmos?
Atmos, unfortunately, I didn't sit in my normal seat at D9 or D10, so I was up in the closer to the front rows. I was in
He
the
already
first two
knows
rows.
his chair.
Yeah, and like it was loud.
I was a row behind that dude. I was in E9, so yeah, I get it, dead center.
Yeah, and so being closer to the screen was it was louder, but like I think the audio for the movie was good. But like I think my personal opinion, they have to tune some stuff in there because sometimes you hear rattles of like the infrastructure, which kind of takes away from the movie for me. But IMAX, it sounded good.
I didn't hear that from the back.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
Was
at
that
all.
just an upfront thing? Probably because like maybe
No, I've heard it in almost
subs
every
were
movie
rattling?
I've seen there. It's just it's something that I hear. It's just I hear these things. It's weird. It's just dealing with the stuff all the time and dealing with construction.
Right.
Like it's either one of like it's up in the like next time you go there. Now you guys are gonna listen for it. In like the front left part of the room, there's something that's either loose or just up too high, and you hear stuff shake.
Wait, are you sure you weren't smelling burnt toast at the
No, I
same
wasn't
time?
smelling
or
burnt
you
toast. I was
just-
having a stroke.
So here's a question. Yeah, I mean, again, the sound was awesome. I mean, I only see it in Dolby theaters, and the one thing I would say is I tell everyone, listen, if you're gonna go to movies, go to a Dolby theater. If you're gonna have a home theater in the house, don't fucking get a sound bar. All right, you never see a sound bar inside the theater room. You see fucking speakers all over a theater. So get yourself a great surround sound system. Enjoy it in your house. That being said, how did Ralph what's your opinion on Robert Pattinson as Batman?
Pattinson, he did a good job. I think my only problem with him was his teeth are almost cartoony because they're so like all the same size, and they did so many close-ups of him that I was like, Jesus, like this is way too cartoon-like.
That's
Motherfucker's got nice teeth.
He does,
Like,
but they're all the same size. It's like he's a dolphin, and it kind of bothers
dolphin?
me. Yeah. Man has a lovely smile, but like it just creeps me out when someone's teeth are all the same size, and they have close-ups every 30 seconds in a movie.
Oh man.
Oh my god.
But he handled the role very well. Like I going back to Christian Bale doing Batman. Everybody like was like, oh, I don't know how Christian Bale's gonna do, and then oh, I don't know how Ben Affleck's gonna do, and like. You go into the worst was when people shit on Heath Ledger being the Joker, like completely shit on that. And look, he's probably in the top two.
as in the choice.
Yeah. And I've always
that happens with every movie, I think.
but it happened the most like with Heath Ledger as the Joker. It was just no one gave him a chance, and then they saw it and they're like, wow. Like
that happened with Michael Keaton, and back then we didn't even have the internet to for everybody to really put whatever the fuck they want to say, and there was still an uproar about that. It's like Michael Keaton, he's a fucking comedian.
Yeah,
people thought that Tim Burton wasn't taking like this whole Batman thing serious, and he got a lot of shit for it. And then all of a sudden, people were like, "Oh no, you know what? He could stay."
Yeah, so. They did like an advanced screening or like an advanced preview of it. I think like the year before, they just put clips in the theater rooms, and everybody was like, "Oh shit,
right.
This movie's gonna be awesome," and it was. So, yeah, I thought Robert Pattinson did a good job. I was on the bandwagon the whole time. I've seen a bunch of his independent films, and he did a great job in that. You brought up Tenet. I thought he was great in Tenet. He's got the skills.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I've managed to miss anything he's ever been in. I own Tenet, and I've never seen it yet. So,
yeah.
so that's the grounds I cover with having a
That's a
now
trippy movie, man.
A
You should
5-year-old.
see it.
I can't watch stuff I can't watch adult stuff anymore.
Well,
yeah, but you got it. Unfortunately, with that movie, you have to watch it at least 2.5 times.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
and I say 2.5 because you're gonna get to the half and be like, all right, I got it. I don't need to watch the rest of the movie. Yeah, I thought that he would do a good job. It's funny you brought up Christian Bale. I never understood any of the criticism that came with him going to be Batman or anything. He's not bad in any movie he's in. Like, it just, I mean, other than his accent in the Newsies, right?
I just think fandom is one of those things where people want, hey, I want a Batman movie, but then when you get yourself, and you know what? No matter what Batman movie has ever come out, right? And we're talking about some of the Schumacher ones, right? The actors that portrayed Batman, those are actually good actors onto themselves. You know, like when you see their bodies of work, you're like, oh shit, those are good actors. So it's just the movie that makes, you know, some movies, you know, just suck for them. But no, I felt the same way. Like Robert Pattinson, I was like, really? Him? The guy from Twilight? And it really took me out of it. I was just, that's why I went went into it with such low expectations. But once I saw it, man, once into like the movie, I was like, you know what? This motherfucker's good. This guy's really fucking good.
Yeah, man.
I'll sit here and I'll watch his
great
shit.
in the suit.
Yeah,
he looked great in the suit. I mean, of course, it's part of costume design and all that. But,
right.
You know, when you get to the scene and that whole intro where they're trying to set up like they don't know where he's gonna come from. They fear the shadow. They fear the dark because they think he's gonna be there.
Right.
And they show all these other crimes and all these criminals committing crimes. And all of a sudden they see the bat symbol and they become afraid, and then it finally transitions to where he's walking down the tunnel. Now granted, they made the Batman make sound, wherein in all the other films they might be like, oh hey, maybe you saw a shadow of the Batman, but you didn't hear him come in, or like you heard a swoosh of the cape. But I don't know, just when I heard the boots clomping down the hall, I was like, let's get, like, I got so amped up. I just wanted to see him destroy things.
Yeah.
And oh my god, I was hooked.
This fucker came in like he was like, you know, like with spurs on his boots and shit.
I just wanted to fuck. He just wanted to. I mean, basically, they set the character up as he's like, I want vengeance and justice, and I'm gonna get it, and I don't care how I get it. So I'm gonna smash this dude's face in.
Right.
And like from the second he took that first guy down, which I mean they put it in the trailer, right? Like him beating that guy down.
Right.
And I saw it in the trailer and I was like, I'm in on this movie.
Yo.
You got me hook, line, sinker. Let's watch the chef cook and let's see what's going on.
Here's the thing about the introduction.
It was so good.
That introduction was just so fucking awesome because one, it was like when that bat signal showed up, people all of a sudden looked at the shadows and everybody thought that motherfucker's gonna come out of there any moment now and beat the shit out of me. Which I guess is exactly what he wants. You know, that's the reaction that he wants. A really cool thing that I thought they did, I don't know if you guys noticed on the big spotlight for the bat signal, on all the other movies they have like some kind of like, you know, bat template that they put right on the spotlight.
Yeah, it looks like they like broke it into place or something.
So this one actually, they it looks like they actually like what is it? Like they cut pieces of the light itself and shaped it into the bat signal. And I thought that was a cool, you know, design where I was like, that's kind of cool. Like he didn't come in and say, hey, let me give you a little template. Here you go, man. Courtesy.
Yeah, let me make this for you.
Let me make this courtesy of the Batman. No, he probably went in there and he just kind of like with the pliers, you know, he just kind of shaped it, and I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I really like that introduction. I don't know what do you think, Ralph?
The only thing that kind of disappointed me was that they started off with it being October 31st, and I was like, oh, they're going to do long Halloween, and I was really amped up for that, and they didn't.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Because I try not to read any of the comic, well, the DC stuff at least, I try not to read anything, because I know so much about the Batman stuff, and I try not to get spoilers or pre-story notes, so you know, that was a bummer, but I really like that intro that was incredible. That's how Batman should be. And then I'm glad they didn't force feed another killing of Thomas and Martha Wayne down our throats, because that happened.
Yeah,
they do that in every
actually
iteration.
That was great.
That's a really, for whatever reason, it didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah, no, I thought that was awesome that they did not have to rehash that entire origin all over again. Fucking pearls. I think everyone had pearls. You know? So,
damn it. I was just going to say that. I was like, dude, you don't want to watch pearls fall in slow motion?
Yeah, so no, actually, it's like you were saying. Yeah, that was what. And again, you know, they come from stories from the comic book, because Matt Reeves is a really big comic book fan, and he really fucking dove into like the Batman, you know, mythos and everything. So I was really glad that he pulled from all these little things and actually had respect for the IP, which is cool. What did you guys think of Paul Dano as the Riddler? I mean, that is so different than any other Riddler. I mean, look, first of all, let's just be honest. Jim Carrey was just Jim Carrey. When I went through a Batman binge the last few days, and when I saw Batman Forever with Jim Carrey, I was just like, holy shit, I forgot how fucking doofy this guy is. Again, he's Jim Carrey, and I love watching him being him. But it was so, I don't know. And then you watch Paul Dano, and you're like, what the fuck? This one kid from the show Gotham, what's his name?
The one who plays the Riddler?
Corey Michael Smith. A lot of people are saying that that's probably the closest to the comic book Riddler. But I have to say, Paul Dano really, you know, he brought a level of I don't know, of character acting up there. I mean, he was creepy. What do you guys think?
Yeah, you want to go?
I'll go. He did fantastic. I thought I didn't really recognize his name, and I looked it up, and I remembered Little Miss Sunshine. That's all I ever really saw with him in it. So I'm like, how's this guy gonna pull it off? And then he did. He was sick, and like from what I've read, like he really got into like kind of method acting with it too, where like he actually wrapped his head with the cellophane to portray the character, and getting that like they said that he with the cell phone stuff, he would sit in the room with the iPhone and do it until he got it right. Like
I heard he did that take like 200 times.
Yeah, he did it a bunch. He did it a lot of times. And so I think the one thing that has made the most memorable villains from the movies just that memorable is that they're captivating. And I mean, the first one to do it really well, Jack Nicholson, well, he's one of the all-time greats. And he had a very interesting take on the Joker, but he nailed it. It was him. It was the first time where you saw a villain on screen that, at least for me as a kid, that it was captivating and interesting, and probably, arguably, at points, the most interesting part of that movie. Then you fast forward to, let's say, The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger, who is, I mean, I think that's still the best villain portrayal that I've seen in a Batman movie. Definitely the best Joker I've ever seen. There's just something so captivating about, I guess, just how crazy he is, right? And going to Paul Dano,
Is it Dano?
You know,
Is it Dano or Dano?
Dano, most
Dano,
likely.
Dano, I don't know.
Our bad. How about that?
Sorry, Paul. We love you, though. You did a good job.
Yeah, I do. You're great in There Will Be Blood, which is what I was getting to. If you haven't seen There Will Be Blood...
I forgot he was in that.
Yeah. So, he is incredible in There Will Be Blood. And when they mentioned he was going to be the Riddler, and I heard about it, I knew that he was going to do an amazing job. He is a good character actor. He has the skills. He has the chops. He has the ability to change the intonations of his voice, which was on display throughout the entire movie, which helped portray just sort of how crazy he is. The Riddler is, and I second best in all the Batman movies. I think there were times where I thought he was just as captivating as Heath Ledger, though. He's in large parts of the movie are the best thing. It really he really brought the movie together, and I'm glad he went crazy with it. I read a lot of the same stuff that you guys did, and he took it very, very seriously. He wanted to make sure that he portrayed the Riddler in his own right, but it really worked on screen. But the only complaint I had was hearing his voice. That was my only problem.
No, I think, yeah, just to cap off the point about him, is just, I agree. He would come in second or third among the rogues that have been portrayed on screen. I think Scarecrow was awesome in the Christopher Nolan series.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We're not even going to talk about the Riddler and the Batman Forever. Riddler on the show, Gotham, was good, like, as a personality. I think on the show, the one thing that show got wrong is it was too political and too much in catering to the way a lot of, like me and Rob talked about in the past, like with Eternals for Marvel, they pander to, like, try to cater to every group out there to help get them people in the theater and get money. Right. So, like, making that whole trying to say this in a proper way, the whole aspect of Riddler and the Penguin being homosexual was kind of forced, and, like, it made no sense in terms of canon. But on the show, they obviously they're trying to grab more audiences. It had no effect, I think, on their story arcs. But we're getting off the beaten path. Like, that Riddler was good, except for that aspect, I think. Even in the game, like the game, going back to the game canon stuff, they had a pretty sadistic Riddler in one of the games. That kind of reminded me of the Dano character, where it kind of, like, screamed at you when you didn't do what he wanted. And
in one of the Arkham, you talking about the Arkham ones, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think he did a great job. I don't think.
And let me tell you, I mean, if we talk about, like, you know, all the like you said, the rogue gallery in this movie, I mean, guys, Colin Farrell, holy shit! I mean, that was a performance. This is a guy. He's I mean, he has a British accent, and for him to go full blown fucking, you know, Godfather or whatever, you know, or Goodfellas, and you couldn't even recognize him. I mean, he really just kind of dove into that character. What I liked about it was they did not do. I was able to accept the fact that they didn't do the Penguin trope where, like, you know, the top hat, the monocle, you know, him probably, you know, like, you know, kind of thing, you know, and you know, probably hobbling around and stuff like that. It just, although they didn't give a reason why they call him the Penguin, which maybe they will, because now there's supposed to be an HBO Max show about the Penguin with Colin Farrell. maybe they'll go into the the reason why they call him the Penguin. Like in this movie, there was no reason why they would call him the Penguin. It's just he was the Penguin. I just thought his performance on that was just amazing.
Yeah, I also thought he was absolutely incredible. No, I mean, I always think it's amazing when you have foreign actors who always show up American actors in terms of doing accents. They're just better at it. So you get an Irish guy who has no hint of an accent whatsoever, nails a New York accent.
He's Irish, right? That's right. He's Irish.
He's Irish. Yeah. And like nails the accent, nails the character. I just a great addition to the film. Didn't feel like it detracted in any way.
Right.
Possibly set up other things for the future. Yeah, it was very, very hard to tell that it was actually him as the Penguin. And yeah, I mean, again, everything this movie did, except for maybe one or two things like Batman's hair, or Bruce Wayne's hair, was good.
Yeah, the emo hair had to go away.
Good. Not was, it's still in theaters, and it's never going to stop being a piece of art. So, is good.
And you, sir?
Yeah.
I thought I still couldn't get over that was him the whole time, because I saw him like leading up to the movie, the trailers and previews and stuff, like talking about the movie, and I'm like, who is he? And then I saw the Penguin, I'm like, get out of here. And he pulled it off so well. Again, to counteract with like the Gotham series, Lord Robin Taylor did a really good job, a good portrayal of the Penguin on that.
Right.
But like this version of the Penguin is like what I would expect from the Penguin. I mean, Danny DeVito did a great job, but the cartoony aspect of it was a little bit over the top. This is like
are you telling me that him, when Danny DeVito got what is it? When they killed him,
doesn't he like eat? Doesn't he like? Doesn't he eat fish?
A raw
he eats
fish.
fish.
But I like the part where, like, when they killed him and all of a sudden the penguins come out and it's like they were like pallbearers. And he sent him in.
Yeah. That's
movie
right.
Is so fucking wacky, man.
That's right. No, I always prefer, just like Nolan's Batman's and Reeves' Batman, I prefer when it's grounded in some sort of realism.
Right.
I just think it makes all the characters more accessible, but you still know that those are the characters. And I think, sort of to what you alluded to with Jim Carrey and that abomination of a film, there can be a limit to being too cartoony.
Right.
I think in 1989 that was the right take, and it also works for the director with Tim Burton and stuff like that. You come to expect splashes of color and things like, Beetlejuice, all that, right? So you come to expect that.
I always feel like Tim Burton is a lack of color. If you look at his movies, it's like
I guess some of the new ones,
right.
yeah. But if you look at some of the other ones, those two,
right.
There's a lot of color, but Batman is he's the Dark Knight. So
right.
but I do think that the story's more enjoyable when it's grounded. The characters are grounded in a real world, and you look at, I think the Nolan's and Reeves, which I think, other than maybe 89 for me, are the best.
Right.
I just enjoyed that it was grounded in more of a real world. So,
and
that's why I like the portrayal of Dano.
You're right. So here's the other thing.
Penguin.
So if we get into look, there was Colin Farrell, which did a phenomenal job. Dano did his. Then there's, of course, John Turturro as Falcone. Actually, and I heard that he was in the movie, but I didn't realize he was going to be Falcone. And I thought he did an awesome job on that. Turturro was Turturro, but he was actually pretty cool. When you see all the different takes on him and through all the different, Batmans, I think his take was actually pretty cool. I mean, I think he did something. I think he did a phenomenal job on that. What do you think, Ralph?
Well, he reminds me of half my uncle, so it's hard to get away from it. He does a real good job playing the wise guy role, and having that human side to him, and then especially when he's dealing with the Catwoman, being his daughter. Spoiler alert, sorry. And then transitioning that, and telling people how it is, and then how he showed some empathy to Bruce Wayne, having to see him on that table, and that breaking the news that his father wasn't a saint. He did a real good job with conveying different emotions, even though he's kind of a scumbag. But
and let me tell you, when I saw that scene, I thought, I was like, holy shit! I mean, is Reeve really going in this direction with the with the Wayne family?
Yeah,
he had me convinced.
Well, that again from the Long Halloween and some of the other stories that, or at least the graphic novels that have come out, that has become prevalent in some of those stories. What's the owl one?
Court of Owls.
Ralph?
Court of Owls.
Yeah. So, and Court of Owls and Long Halloween, some of the other ones, that comes out where being the richest person in Gotham means that you're going to rub elbows with everybody, whether they're good people or bad people, and you're somehow going to get involved. It's just a part of being high society, when crime in that city also has a role in high society. And they did a very good job of incorporating that. But to your point, Ralph, where you got to see all different aspects of Falcone, and I mean, I knew it was from some of the graphic novels where they were showing Bruce watching him get operated on and all that. But I liked how they showed how he was still able to manipulate everyone.
Right.
Even Bruce. Like, you had Bruce thinking for a second, and he was like, ah, shit, my parents really weren't good people. And Alfred's like, hey, man, that guy's a piece of shit, right? In a much more eloquent way on film. But yeah, you got to see that, and I thought he did a good job at bringing the duplicity of sort of being a mobster, of being charismatic, but also a piece of shit.
What I found interesting was that Reeves was able to take you through this entire movie as on a ride with Batman. In other words, you knew what Batman knew, and that was about as far as he would get, I think, when it came to that. I think in certain things, like stuff like that, where it's like, really, that's who So Reeves was able to just make sure that the audience was not like, oh, we know first before Batman does, or Bruce Wayne does, or something like that. You kind of find out at the same time as Bruce Wayne does, which I thought that was pretty cool. But so yeah, no, Falcone was actually a pretty cool character there. Here's my question to you guys, and I'm gonna direct this one to Joe because I know he's a fan.
Sure.
Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. So here's what I'm gonna say. I wasn't a fan at first, especially when I heard about it. In the first showing, I was like, I think that was the weakest part of the whole movie. But when I went to see it the second time, I went, oh, okay. She was a strong character. So
yeah,
what was your thought on that? Because I know you're a fan of Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, I mean, I'd watch her do just about anything on screen, so that's fine. She's gorgeous. Everyone knows that. Anyway, we'll move on. She's also a good actress, and I thought she did a great job as Catwoman. They added some modern flair to it of, I guess, modernizing sexuality, I guess. I guess I never really paid attention to it in the comics. I don't know if she was bisexual in the comics. I don't remember. But I just know that, like, in particular with the story that they pulled from, it's pretty clear that her and Batman were hitting it off in Long Halloween, and
right.
I mean, even in some of the later stories, they got married, right? They got married.
Yeah, no, as a matter
they
of fact,
tied that
Yeah.
up last year,
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah, as a matter
Yeah,
of fact,
so-
there's a good run of called Catwoman and Batman, where
Yeah.
they talk about like they actually have a kid. You know. So.
Yeah, so I thought that they did a good job of sort of showing or giving Selena an origin story. They did pull the Falcone, his father, from the graphic novels and stuff like that. But even when I was watching, I literally watched the Long Halloween before I went to go see the Batman. I was so engrossed in the movie that I forgot that they could even go that route
Right.
in the film. And like you said, they bring us on the character's journey as sort of the movie progresses, and you're riding all the waves with them throughout the story. That I got lost in what it was. But I didn't. I liked her as Catwoman. I thought she did a very good job. I honestly think, maybe. I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer is iconic. But between Pfeiffer, Hathaway, and Zoe Kravitz, I think maybe she comes in second. I'm not sure, but I really did like her portrayal. I like how you could tell that the fight scenes with her were kind of sped up, but I think that's necessary because Zoe Kravitz is she's so slight and slender
Right.
that you got to throw some speed behind some of those blows, otherwise they're not doing much. But I liked how they portrayed her fighting style and integrated the whip and all that. I thought it was really well done, and I thought she did a fantastic job.
My biggest gripe out of that was the fact that while she was supposed to be Catwoman, she didn't come off as Catwoman to me. Catwoman, when you see Catwoman, is a lot more flirtatious, but at the same time, and again, this could be Catwoman's journey on being or ending up to being, a different Catwoman later on. But I hated the fucking sock on her head, man. I mean, I understand
Yeah,
what they were trying
I'll
to
give
do.
you-
Yeah, I
I'll
understood
give
that
you
they were
that.
trying to with the little ears but the thing over her nose, I mean, it made it look like she had a nose job, and those were the bandages or something like that or something.
Yeah.
I just did not like that. I was like, man, that's my only gripe. And again, I wasn't thrilled with her on on the first round when I saw it, but on the second, I was like, all right, you know what? I like her character. I just didn't like that choice with the mask.
I think like a lot of the women that they've put in that role, they're effortlessly sexy.
Right.
Like at least, I mean, to me, the most memorable ones, right?
Right.
And not memorable. Sorry, Halle Berry. But again, as a person and a human being, effortlessly sexy, and that's clearly part of the character, as you alluded to. She uses that. It's flirtatious. It gets her indoors. It allows her to steal things and get information that she needs in the comic books and all that. So, yeah, I think some of that was maybe missing a little bit, but I felt in this world, or at least for the journey that her character was taking, which in terms of having to deal with her origin and figuring out her father and family stuff,
Right.
meshed well with the same journey that Batman was on in the film.
Right,
too.
and that's
So
why I
thought it
was
worked well.
able to accept the fact that I was like, all right, so since it's Batman's journey on becoming the Batman that we know, it's probably the same thing going to be with Catwoman. What do you think,
Right.
Ralph?
I don't think about Zoe Kravitz. No, she did a great job. That was the one character I had my doubts about, just because I didn't know how they were going to flesh it out. And I do like that they went with the more modern storyline of her and Batman being kind of involved and like starting that up. And you forget what's her name, Cameron Bikendova from Gotham. I thought she did a good job as a young Selena Kyle.
She's gorgeous. Holy shit! When I remember seeing her, I was like, "What a pretty girl!"
Yeah,
And
I think
she
she
had-
killed it as Selena Kyle. As Catwoman, like, she had work, but obviously it was Selena Kyle as a young,
right.
like a teenager.
I think, yeah. I thought like when I saw her, I was like, "Holy shit!" They really captured the comic book version
Right.
of Selena Kyle very good with her. Yeah, no, that was pretty cool. Now, you know what? The surprise to me in this movie was actually Andy Serkis as Alfred. I thought he did a great Alfred. What did you guys think about that? I mean, they showed him different. I mean, I think like every Alfred that you see in every different movie, you know, when you see like the Batman, the Keaton Batman, Alfred is just a butler, you know. But when you see Michael Caine's Batman, while you see a butler, you get the background story of him being in the service.
Right.
Right? So I thought that was pretty cool. The one what's this guy in Batman versus Superman? Jeremy Irons. Jeremy Irons actually was pretty cool too. I thought he was good, but he seemed more he didn't come off as the butler. He just came off as, hey man, I'm just the sidekick who's you know,
Yeah,
doing all
I
your
would
tech.
agree with that.
With that, but here I would say Andy Serkis. I mean, there was a lot of you know, of the human aspect to him, and he really conveyed, like, you know, especially the times that, you know, Batman was being a total fucking dick. Here's the other thing. Bruce Wayne was the biggest asshole when it came to Alfred. I mean, the fact that he told Alfred, you know, you're not my father. Oh, and, you know, when he was putting on the cuffling, it was like, oh, now you think you're a Wayne? It's like, what the fuck, dude? And then when, you know, this guy gets blown up, you know, here he is. He's in the hospital, and, you know, and Alfred, you know, is waking up from almost being blown up and looks over and has a smile like saying, oh my God, he's here. And what does he do? He goes, you lied to me. It's like, motherfucker, give him some water and tell him, hey, you want some juice or something? Give him something, man. Just don't fucking, it's just like, you lied to me. I was like, you're a dick. But I thought Alfred's, Serkis's portrayal of Alfred was actually pretty cool. I mean, what did you guys think about that?
He obviously, from all the movies we've seen him in and special effects stuff, Gollum, all that stuff, he has a face that can emote things very well.
Mm-hmm.
With all the hours of facial capture he's probably done. And acting, it's acting, even though you don't see him on the screen. He was acting as those characters.
Yeah.
He's a very good actor.
Can we touch on the fact that he's
And-
been in every iconic movie series in the last 30 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, he's also
He's been in the MCU. He's been in Lord of the Rings. He's been in the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
now Batman.
Now Batman. What else has he been on? Well, I mean, I'm sure I can pull up his IMDb and see
IMDb.
it. Fucking the list is longer than I don't know what, but no, he's phenomenal at what he does. I just thought that his portrayal of Alfred was actually pretty cool. I mean,
And I think that's the right portrayal of Alfred for
this
world and at this point in the Batman's career and Bruce's life.
right?
Having to sort of navigate the water of being a surrogate father and making promises to Thomas and Martha Wayne and all that stuff. He did a good job at, I guess, in certain instances, letting Bruce know he sort of overstepped some lines, but he was very, very good.
And
in the role.
spoiler alert, he was in Star Wars as well.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's right. He was. Look at that. Yeah, he was Snoke. We trying to forget that part.
He was in King Kong. What else?
And King Kong, I thought he did a great job. He was. I thought it was funny when he was when they were all being chased by like these dinosaurs, and he's like running out of breath, but he's still like trying to puff on a fucking cigar. And it's like, motherfucker, put that shit down. Why do you think you're running out of breath? You know. Well, I mean, look. Bottom line, this movie was great, and it did a lot of great things. And like I said, I went into it with low expectations. There are a lot of people that, you know, some people complain about, you know, maybe the look of it. Some people think, oh, it's just grounded too much in reality. I want to see a little bit more of the superhero aspect of it. the fact of the matter is that this movie, I see this movie just like if you are a comic book reader, how you would see Batman portrayed by a different artist or a different writer. And if you are, if you're a comic book reader, comic book fan, or you read comic books before, you will pick up a comic book and you will go, oh, this artist is now doing Batman, or this writer is doing Batman, and it gets portrayed differently for each one. So a good example of that is like when Todd McFarlane took over for Spider-Man, and how he made Spider-Man look so fucking different compared to what, Ditko did before that. Just the look of it, the way he drew it, and, all those things just look so different. And then Jim Lee, same thing with Jim Lee, where he did, the X-Men, and how the X-Men look so awesome. And then he went into, doing Batman. He's the one that did Hush. Again, it was just the vision of the artist, and you just sat there and you said, okay, I'm going to accept this. This is awesome. And I had to see it that way. And if I see the movie just for what it is, I thought it was an awesome movie. They're not doing what the MCU is doing. The MCU, has a vision of putting all these worlds together. And yes, they do have a superhero looking movie. This movie, especially I think with the character Batman, sometimes it has to probably be grounded in reality. That's why I don't know how Matt Reeves is going to actually get Mr. Freeze or Clayface in there, which he expressed interest in seeing how he can explore those characters in this world of Batman, because it's going to be very hard to do the fantastic, like the fantastical characters in this world where it's supposed to be so grounded in reality. But overall, I thought phenomenal movie, great execution, sounds great, looks great. Is it the best Batman than any other? Listen, I just finished seeing The Dark Knight, and holy shit, you still have to say that's a fucking great Batman movie. So I would say that in terms of movies, in terms of the where do I rank it? I'm gonna say it's right up there, as close to Dark Knight as possible.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think what I like the most about it is their ability to capture the detective aspect of Batman.
Yeah.
That was by far the best in this film, by far. It was so much I don't know, I liked how it was just more than I guess what I was used to from a Batman movie. They managed to do something and capture something that we haven't seen on film to that extent with this character ever. And that's saying something.
Yeah.
They nail it. You see it time and time and time again in all the animated films and stuff that that we like watching, the Batman animated ones.
Right.
But you haven't really seen it on film to the same extent. I like the movie so much that I can forgive the fact that he opened a parachute and was moving a bajillion miles an hour, like bounced off a moving train and a bridge or something, hit the ground. He's like, I'm going to limp. I'd be like, I'm pretty sure your neck's broken and you're dead.
Yeah.
And the Batman's no more. The Batman's going to fight people in a wheelchair now.
Yeah.
That's going to have like dart guns on it because he doesn't kill people.
Oh, that would have been. They could have just skipped Bane. You just go into Knight's Quest and you have the Azrael Batman show up and kick some ass. That would have been good.
Yeah, but yeah, I really, really did like how this seemed to be the first time they really captured the essence of the detective part of Batman.
Yeah.
And that deserves to be pointed
absolutely.
out. And they deserve a really, really big round of applause for that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And I think this being the first, because I guess this is supposed to be a trilogy also, this being the first one, I would be really interested to see what the second one is going to bring. But just like, Christopher Nolan's Batman, Batman Begins, which when we saw it, we were like, holy shit, that's really good. That was awesome. And then all of a sudden we see The Dark Knight and we're like, oh, forget that fucking movie. This is like the best superhero movie I have ever seen in my life. I hope that Matt Reeves can bring something like that where it's like, okay, so this is Batman and this is where we're starting. But on the second movie, holy shit, watch this.
Yeah.
And I am very eager to see what he comes up with next on that.
I think what makes that hard is finding someone who can do as good of a job as Paul did as the Riddler.
Right.
Because you got to have someone who can bring it like that every time. So I'd be curious. I think improving what Pattinson does is pretty easy. The progression there for
Right.
Batman is a logical one. What's not so clear is where they might go with the story and the next villain. But whatever they do,
well, it's
has
obvious.
to be
Well, it's
done
obvious that the
well.
next villain, because look, I mean, we all
Well,
saw
true.
right. We all saw a little hint of what's going
True.
on with So they showed the Joker at the end, and it was actually confirmed by Matt Reeves that is the Joker. That part of the movie had me a little perplexed. I was like, that felt like it was shoehorned in. That was something that
Yeah.
I feel like you didn't really have to. You know what? If you want to do a trilogy and never have the Joker in it, I'm okay with that. We've had a lot of Jokers already. I mean,
yeah,
fine, show the Batman. And I know that, Batman and the Joker is, they both go together. I mean, you just can't have one without the other. But I felt like, you know what? I mean, like, Batman Begins did a really cool thing, which is towards the end, all Gordon did was tell Batman, hey, this is his calling card, and you saw like a Joker card. And that was it. And this one, you see, him talking to the Joker and stuff like that, and I was like, is this going to be the Joker for the next movie, or was he just shoehorned in? I mean, so these are kind of like, I guess, the questions that I'm sure everybody's asking, but I felt like that was if I had to nitpick, that was like the one little, there's a few little things I could nitpick about this movie if I really wanted to. But that was the one thing I felt like, yeah, that didn't really need to be there. I mean, you guys already had a great movie. You could have ended it any time without having that one part in there. What did you guys think about the Joker thing in there? And people were like, oh, well, that looks like Harvey Dent. And it's actually a take on, I saw like a drawing of the Joker for, I guess, for one issue or something like that. And he had like a mangled face, and that's what they were portraying, basing it off of.
Yeah, so in the comic books, there's a series where the Joker actually cuts his face off, and that ends up becoming I can't remember the character's name, but this crazy chick finds it, and she becomes another rogue. Man, why can't I remember her name? But yeah, he cuts his face off to evade something in the storyline, and because I don't want to spoil that. To spoil the comic book stuff, I'll spoil movie stuff all day. But like, if you're gonna take the time to read the comics, I'm not gonna spoil that. But yeah, he literally like grabs his own face off, and that's why he has like that weird mangled face. I didn't personally have anything. I don't think we need to see another iteration of the Joker. I think people feel it's necessary as he's like the main. It's more of a. I think in this case, it's more of a. He's a recognizable rogue. He's the most recognizable villain besides. I mean, he is the most recognizable villain in Batman.
Right.
he's one of the most recognizable villains in all of comic
Right.
book history.
Yeah.
Even people that don't
Arguably the greatest.
Yeah, and people that don't casually follow comic books know who the Joker is. I think the letdown is you just had the movie Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, 2, 3, 4 years ago? 3 years ago.
Right.
And it was incredible. That's a movie that I always say, and like I've and this is before I read it in other places, like that movie could have been named Bim Bam, and Bim Bam would have been a great movie because that movie was good, not because of it taking place in Gotham and him being the Joker. The reveal would have been great if that was the actual Joker. If he was talking to the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, then I would have been excited. I'm like, oh, they're gonna cross these over. That'd be amazing. But just another Joker, and like it's big shoes to fill. Like you saw, like I said, I mentioned earlier, like Heath Ledger got shit on because like, hey, Pretty Boy's not gonna be able to pull it off, and he did. And sadly, he didn't, get to see the fruits of his labor because he did pass.
And he won an Oscar for it.
Yeah.
The same way that Joaquin Phoenix won an Oscar for it. So anybody else taking on that role after that, I'm sure they're like, holy shit, 2 people that did the Joker, fucking Oscar winners. Yeah. How am I going to top that? And I honestly feel like, you know what? You probably shouldn't. Yeah, I agree. If Joaquin Phoenix would have been the one that he was talking to, that would have been great. The only thing is that in the Joker movie, the way Bruce's family died, which is the normal way that it's always been portrayed, where it's, they die in crime alley and stuff like that. It didn't seem like that was the way he died in the Batman here for Reeves. It could be.
It's a multiverse. It would have been,
yeah, but you know what? With all the multiverse shit happening, they could have done that.
Right.
They had no problem. I think Joaquin Phoenix should have been the one that, if they were going to do that, that would have been awesome. But if they weren't going to do that, take it out, or put Jack Nicholson and shit. He's 80 years old now, I think. But
I'm really hoping that they that's kind of like a swerve, and they don't have him in the next one. They have him in the third part of it. Like, you don't see Riddler or Joker in the next movie. It's a whole different.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I would. I'd like to see maybe something in Arkham. I think that'd be cool. Or, I know Pattinson said he wanted to do Court of Owls, which we haven't seen.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome.
I think it's been alluded to, maybe, but I don't think we've. Seen that.
I don't recall that it's ever been alluded to, but yeah, that would be awesome. I did hear also that he wanted to do, probably explore Robin into it, but they wanted to really explore like a really young Robin, like something like a 13-year-old Robin. And I'm like, this guy is still trying to get his foot around being Batman, and now he's going to be the mentor to somebody. Nah. I mean, the one I would love to see as an interpret, I would love to see Damian Wayne, because that little fucker is crazy.
Yeah, but you have so much you'd have to tie into it. It'd be tough for them. Like that would be shoehorned in.
Yeah,
because you have to go.
There's a lot
to be tied in. But I would love to see a portrayal of Damian Wayne. I don't know who would they get, but because that little fucker's crazy. But I would love to see him. But yeah, no. So listen, man, I liked it. I mean, it seems like you guys liked it too. I think it was great. I think the movie's is going to still do a lot of money. I think it's so. If anybody's out there, if you're wondering, yeah, I think I give it a thumbs up. Everybody else, I'm sure, gives it a thumbs up in here.
100%.
But it is a phenomenal movie, and
it needs to be seen.
It needs to be seen, man, for you to see it. So yeah, that's our review for the Batman.
Hey, you just listened to part 1 of our Batman review. Join us next time as we do a part 2, this time covering the best Batman of all time. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.